I apologize, Your Honor. We spelled this next witness's name incorrectly by a vowel, and so the mistake didn't think he was on it.
It was my fault. I'll even take that. So we had a little confusion, but the confusion is over now.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the remedy, it sounds like would be the state, if the state needs time to just talk to the witness briefly, but we're ready to move forward.
It was a E instead of an I, so good, right address, right everything.
Kind of like comma issues becomes important. So.
We can live with that.
All right, looks like we've got everybody back. Mr. Sheffield, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and get the witness back up. I guess it's not the state's witness. Whoever you
can
had.
have Mr.
All right, you can go to have a seat, sir. And I remind you that you are under oath.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and get the pen.
All rise for the jury. Please be seated.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience. I believe we are ready to proceed. Mr. Sheffield.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Brinson.
Good afternoon.
Could you please spell your first and last name?
Jack, J-A-C-K, Brinson, B-R-I-N-S-O-N.
Mr. Brinson, how old are you?
I'm 67.
Are you married?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
41 years.
Okay. And where do you live?
I live in Satilla Shores.
What street do you live off of?
I live on Zelwood Drive.
On Zelwood. Okay. And where on Zelwood is it? Is it closer to Highway 17 or to the back of the neighborhood?
It's to the back.
Okay. How long have you lived there?
We have lived there, my wife and I have lived there for a little over 35 and a half years.
Okay. Do you have any other family that lives in the neighborhood?
Yes, my daughter and son-in-law live next door and 3 grandchildren.
They live where?
Right next door.
Oh.
And I want to apologize. I'm a little hoarse. I've had a cough, so if I...
Okay. Well, there's
We'll
some tissue
just bear with
next
me.
to you if you need them.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for letting us know. You said your daughter and 3 grandchildren.
Yes,
All right. And what is your daughter's name?
Jill.
And what is your son-in-law's name?
Brandon Gregory.
Okay. How is he employed?
He is a detective with the Glenn County Police Department.
Okay. I want to ask you some very limited questions about your experiences in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay. At any point in time, did you become aware of ongoing crime in the neighborhood?
Yes.
All right. What type of crime were you aware of?
At the first, that my experience was probably about 6 years ago, where my vehicle was broken into, and I didn't realize it until the next morning when I went to go get my coffee, and you could see someone had been in my glove box, and everything was strewn around. And I keep a bunch of quarters in an ashtray in that car just for tire pressure, things like that. And the ashtray poured out, and the quarters were gone.
I'm going to stop you there. What kind of work do you do or did you do?
I was a sales tax and withholding tax auditor for the compliance division of the Georgia Department of Revenue for 30 years.
Okay. Did anything happen to some of your stuff related to your work in terms of being stolen?
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay. You were saying then that you had some things stolen from your car.
Yes.
And that
CDs and things like that, but nothing really of value.
Okay. Do you know whether or not your wife is a member of the Facebook Satilla Shores page?
Yes, she is.
Are you aware whether she posts on that page?
Yes, she does.
Okay. Do you all discuss the types of things that are posted on the Facebook page as it may relate to crime?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to ask you if you ever became aware of any crime as it relates to Larry English's house, 220 Satilla Shores.
Objection to hearsay if this is based on the Facebook page.
Well, it's not based on the Facebook page.
Or whether he heard it from his wife, who got it from the Facebook page.
I'm just going to ask him if he's aware of it, Your Honor. I haven't gotten to the hearsay part just quite yet. Just want to establish a little foundation if he's aware of what's going on in the neighborhood. We're asking about if he's aware of crime.
Okay.
Are you aware of any thefts occurring in Larry English's home?
Yes.
And did you come to understand the type of things that were stolen from his home? Without saying what you were told, did you become aware of the types of things that were stolen in the home?
Yes, and also a dollar amount.
Without going into what you were
Okay.
told. Okay. And do you recall who you learned that from? Just the name of the person or persons.
Various people.
Can you name them?
I would say one would have been Matt Benzie, maybe Taylor Zachary, maybe, I don't know, probably several other people, word gets around.
Did you discuss these types of things with your wife and your daughter and your son-in-law?
Yes.
Did you all make any changes in your habits to try to address or deal with some of the crime that was going on in the neighborhood?
Yes, after that first instance, as minor as it was, we had fake cameras at that point, and we bought a camera system ourselves. And,
So you had fake?
Yeah, we had, try to just
To
let someone think we had a camera system out.
Okay.
So then we actually went out and bought actual real cameras.
Okay. Very good. That's all I have. Thank you, sir. The state may have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
No questions, Judge.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Okay.
I understand he can be released.
Yes.
Yes,
And, so you can step down when you are released. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next call, Annabelle Beasley.
Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Annabelle Beasley.
And Miss Beasley, where do you live?
I live in Satilla Shores. 225 Satilla Shores, Brunswick, Georgia.
And how far is that from Sube Lawrence's house?
Next door,
Could you tell the jury how you're related to Miss Lawrence?
she's my daughter. And since she's single, divorced, I asked her to move next door so I could keep an eye on the kids.
How long have you lived in that house you're
Since 2004,
living? So 16, 17 years?
longer than that.
Longer than that. My math is wrong. And you mentioned your grandchildren, Sube's
No,
children.
1994, I'm sorry.
1994. Okay, Sue, it's not my math, it's your math.
My math is.
All right. And you mentioned grandchildren. How many kids does Sube have?
She has 3 boys.
And how old are they?
Right now, the oldest is 15. I have a 13 and a 10.
Please describe for us the type of neighborhood Satilla Shores is. Certainly when you moved in 1994 and as it's gotten
When
closer.
I moved in 1994, it was an older neighborhood, a lot of seniors in there, and it was quiet. I think my kids were the only 2 daughters that grew up next door, grew up right there. They went to high school, they were in Satilla Shores, and so we didn't know a whole lot of neighbors then because a lot of seniors tend to keep to themselves. But in the last few years, things have evolved and the seniors have moved on and we've got younger families in the neighborhood.
So more children in the neighborhood.
That is correct.
Do you know the children who live across the street at the Perez residence?
I certainly do.
Okay, and how do you know those kids?
I know those kids really well. I've known them since they were little because they went to the daycare with my little grandkids.
Okay.
Yes. And I've known Diego since he was a young boy at Sunday school. And then we reconnected, and then I found out that he's buying a house across the street from me. And I said, what a blessing.
Okay. That's wonderful. So, the neighborhood was elderly. Now it's more younger families. Do you live with anybody in your house?
No.
Okay. Do you do anything to maintain your own security at your house?
I have recently, after all the happenings in the neighborhood. It was unnerving. And so I had to, she's single, she couldn't defend me, I got to protect myself. So it became necessary to have cameras put up.
Okay. And you have cameras at your front door or what parts of your house?
I think I only have one at the front door.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was put on recently, so.
Okay. Did there come a time when you yourself became the victim of a property crime?
Yes, I did.
Could you tell us about that?
Well, I was in China, and my black Honda was sitting in my driveway, and my kids, I communicated with them every day, and they discovered that the car was broken into, the door was wide open, and they had been in, so they saw that it was all ransacked. And I asked my daughter if she reported it to the police, and she said no, because the week before, somebody's Jeep was broken into, and the police said, you should have locked your door, there's nothing we can do about it. And since my door was unlocked, she decided not to call the police.
Mm. Did you end up, when you came home from China, calling the police about it or anything?
No, it was way past, yeah.
Okay, so it was a crime that's unreported to the
That
police.
is correct.
Okay. Did you become aware of a situation where Sube's cameras, Miss Lawrence's cameras, went off one night in 2019?
She told me about it.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you, as a result of what she told you, did you do anything about that?
Not personally, no.
Didn't change security, didn't change
No.
your...
I have a security system in the house.
Right. Like an alarm system?
Right.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that Miss Lawrence has 3
Boys.
kids, 3 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of those boys ever going across the street to Mr. English's house to borrow some pieces of wood?
No.
Okay. Are you aware of them ever playing at Mr. English's house?
They played with Mr. English's son.
Ah.
And Mr. English's son would come across and play with them. And Mr. English, when they were using scrap wood to make a ramp, he said he would build them a ramp.
Okay. And do you know if that ever happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Did there ever come a time when your grandchildren became too afraid to play outside?
Yes.
And do you know what happened?
Well, I think they were scared by what they saw. And then they called their grandmother one night. I wasn't there, and their mama was at a birthday dinner, and they saw somebody. Pardon me?
No, not you. You can sustain or overrule that objection.
Yeah, this is what she heard that the boys were reacting to.
Okay.
That's the second.
Let me move past what they told you.
Okay.
Did there come a time where they stopped playing outside at night?
We wouldn't allow them to.
You didn't allow them. I mean, you say we, you're talking about you and Miss Lawrence.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And why wouldn't you allow them to play outside?
Because we didn't want them to encounter anything, you know.
I think this is all still based on hearsay from what she heard from either the board or somebody else. So the reaction or what they're allowing them to do because of that is still based on that hearsay.
Let's focus on this. Figure out.
Yeah.
It sounds like she made a decision. Let's figure out what her decision is and why.
Right, and that's what I was trying to do, Judge. Do not tell us what the boys told you, but did there come a time when they stopped playing outside?
That's correct.
And you said you didn't want them to play outside.
Correct.
And tell us why you and Miss Lawrence made the decision not to let them play outside.
Because of things that were happening in the neighborhood. We didn't want the boys out there. We didn't want them to confront or see anything that they shouldn't. You know, we didn't want them to be a victim of anything, so we let them stay inside.
A safety
and
issue.
even today, they barely go out except now. Now that they're older, they will play, but as long as we are home, it's okay for them to be out there. But they do go across to Perez's house, and we're okay with that.
As long as they're being overseen.
They're right, exactly.
Okay. Was there a time, Miss Beasley, when you were interviewed by GBI agents?
Yes.
Okay, do you know when that was?
When the incident occurred.
The incident being the shooting of Mr.
That is
Arbery?
correct.
Okay, and you gave a statement to the GBI?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's all I have. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Anything from the state?
I just have a couple of questions. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are
Good
you?
afternoon. Fine, thank you.
I'm Paul Camarillo. I'm part of the prosecution team.
Nice to meet you.
We may have talked on the phone, I
think
believe.
you did. You
We
and I
did?
had a long conversation.
We did, right?
I do remember that.
Okay.
Now, yes.
Was it a good one?
Yes, it was a good one.
Okay.
I think I told you all that I was thinking.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
You did. You did. And not all of that is relevant evidence.
Okay,
All right?
gotcha.
So I just
Okay.
got a few questions for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You've been in the neighborhood a long time.
Right.
Okay. Is it fair to say that a vast majority of these crimes that occurred in the neighborhood were property crimes or car break-ins and that sort of thing?
Correct.
Okay. Other than the homicide of Mr. Arbery, violent crimes were few and far between or non-existent in the neighborhood. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Ma'am, that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
May she be excused.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Thank you, sir.
Is she under state subpoena?
No.
All right, and you are excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's called Sube Lawrence.
Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So help me God, yes I do.
Go ahead and see.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Ms. Lawrence, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to the jury.
Okay, my name is Sube Lawrence, Subelawrence.
And we just met your lovely mother, but I want to make sure she spoke loud enough. I want to make sure you speak loud enough so that last jurors back there can hear you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Lawrence, what kind of work do you do?
I'm in recruitment.
Okay. And how long have you been in, like a headhunter kind of recruitment?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been in that?
15 years.
Okay. Here in Brunswick?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about your job and being here at this trial?
I do.
Okay. Well, what are you concerned about?
I obviously just don't want any negative impact in my career and personal life.
Okay. But you're willing to testify today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you tell us where you live?
I live at 221 Satilla Drive,
And where is that in relation to Annabelle Beasley?
right next door.
Okay. And where is that in relation to Larry English's house?
So he's kind of catty-cornered. If you're facing away from my house, he is across the street and one over.
Okay. Do you also know Brooke and Diego Perez?
Yes.
And how do you know the Perez's?
My middle and her oldest went to preschool together, and then just since moving to the neighborhood have become friends.
When did you move into Satilla Shores?
August 2015.
Okay. Was there a time before you moved in 2015 that where you lived in Satilla Shores?
Yes, sir. I moved there in 9th grade with my family, my mom, dad, and sister, into the house my mom lives in 1994.
Okay. Then at some point you moved out?
I did. I got married and moved out and got divorced and came back.
Okay. Okay. And so how would you describe your relationship with the Perez's?
Oh, very close. They are definitely good neighbors, good friends, like other parents to my boys. One time we actually had, the boys were playing baseball in the front yard, and a ball went through the dining room window, and Diego just happened to hear glass crashing and runs over, and he had it repaired before he went to bed that night. And then Brooke's over with her vacuum cleaning up all the glass. So they look out for us.
So they're neighbors that help you
Yes.
with all the
The
things that
circus
three
of-
boys, right?
Yes, sir.
I want to go back to 2019. How old were your three boys at that point?
They were 8, 11, and 13
Okay.
ish.
Did they have any kind of relationship with Mr. English or his children?
Yes, Hoyt, Mr. Larry's son, and my middle are about the same age, and so they would play together. And Mr. Larry actually gave them some wood for a ramp, for a bicycle ramp.
Okay. Have you ever seen Mr. English's surveillance video of two boys on his property
I have.
on bikes?
Yes,
Okay. Do you know who those boys are?
those are my children.
Oh boy. And what were they doing in that video, to your understanding?
They were going to get the plywood for the ramp Mr. Larry made them.
Okay. So they had permission essentially to get the wood?
Yes.
Okay. Did they ever go into Mr. English's house at night, to your knowledge?
No, sir.
I want to take you back to October 2019.
Okay.
Okay. Was there a time when your camera on your own home security system alerted you?
Yes, sir. It was late October, and it was late in the evening. So I want to say the boys and I were at a football game or the fair or something on a Friday night, maybe that was, that had us out late, 10 o'clock-ish, I guess. And so I got an alert on my Blink cameras that, there was motion detected. So I look at it and I see two men with flashlights looking at the front of the house. And so, of course, I call Brooke and just say, there are guys at my house with flashlights. Can you please send Diego over to see what's going on?
Okay, and why would you ask Brooke to send her husband into a difficult situation?
Because Diego is...
There's no object to speculation.
I asked her why. Yeah.
I feel very safe with Diego. I know that he would look out for me and my boys, at all cost.
Okay. And did you eventually come to understand who was on the camera that alerted you? Did you ever find out?
Yes, I did. Diego came over and figured it out and relayed it through Brooke.
Okay. Did you ever, as a result of that incident, talk to the police?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you ever post anything on the neighborhood Facebook page?
In general, yes. About that specifically, I don't recall.
Okay. When you say in general, what kinds of things were you posting on the neighborhood Facebook page?
Who do you use for a landscaper? The ice cream truck is in the neighborhood. Just kind of general, neighborly, keep you updated sort of things.
Okay. Did you ever post anything about crime in the neighborhood?
I didn't initiate a post. I may have commented on a post about crime in the neighborhood.
Okay. Any of those posts related to Larry English's house?
I don't recall specifically.
Okay. Were you kept informed of the intruder in Larry English's house over the course of the late fall 2019 and early 2020?
Yes, sir. So if Brooke would find out that there was a suspicious person lurking, she would usually text or call me and say, tell the boys to get inside and lock the doors. The guy's back at Larry's.
And what would you do when she would tell you that?
Well, kind of at this point, the boys were staying inside a lot anyway. So, I mean, you know, I would still tell the boys, don't go outside, stay inside, lock the doors.
Were your boys, we describe them as physically active young kids?
Very.
And so were they, before all these break-ins, playing outside?
Always.
Okay, building ramps for skateboards
Yes, sir.
and riding their bikes.
Yes, sir.
Were they outside at night?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when that you stopped them from playing outside at night?
I didn't have to stop them. As, you know, reports of car break-ins and suspicious persons, you know, lurking around, they kind of did that themselves. They didn't want to even come help get the groceries out of the car at night because they were just, you know, just a little afraid.
Okay. As a result of your awareness of break-ins in Larry English's house, did you take any security measures to protect yourself and your kids?
Before I knew about the break-ins at Mr. Larry's, I had read on our Facebook page about a car being broken into. And so after that, I got the Blink camera system.
Okay. And were you kept aware about crime in the neighborhood through your neighborhood Facebook page?
Yes, sir.
Did you find it to be helpful?
Very helpful.
Okay. Did you, were you ever one of the administrators of the Facebook page?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, what does that mean to be an administrator?
So just to have access to who's joining the page, what kind of things are being posted in the page. We wanted to make sure that they were actually people that lived in our neighborhood or, you know, had a legitimate reason to be in the group.
Okay. Did you notice over the course of when you moved back in 2015, anything about crime in the neighborhood, whether it was rising or falling, or?
Growing up there had never been crime, and you know, I'm ashamed to say I didn't always do a great job of double checking that my car was locked. But when I started to see frequent posts about cars being broken into, and not only in our neighborhood page, but the Exit 29 Facebook group, people would post from the neighborhood next door. So of course I was just a little more diligent about making sure that you know, the car was locked and the doors were locked and windows that I hadn't checked and that sort of thing.
Did Brooke Perez or any other neighbor, or the Facebook page for that matter, ever inform you about how many times this black male was coming onto Larry English's property at night?
Not so much the Facebook group. It was probably more just text from Brooke saying, you know, get the boys inside.
Okay. And when she would text you that, would you make sure the boys were inside?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay. How did that make you feel, the fact that there was someone coming over?
Violated. Upset that my kids weren't getting to grow up in the safe neighborhood I grew up in. Previously, we lived on some land, and we had a dirt driveway, and all they wanted was a neighborhood with roads so that they could ride their bikes. And so to have to say, come inside, stay inside, or Mom, I don't want to go outside, it was just disappointing.
Even though it wasn't violent crime, it still affected you and your boys?
Well, crimes of opportunity may not start as violent crimes. It's just someone's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I didn't want my boys to be home alone and someone think because there's not a car there, there's no one home, and then they're in that situation without me.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Hey, I'm well, thank you.
My name is Paul Camarillo, and I'm one of the prosecutors here.
Yes, sir.
We've never spoke before, right?
No, sir.
Okay. I may have left you a voicemail or two, but we've never actually connected, right?
No, but I'm sorry if I missed that.
Oh, it's okay.
Definitely would have called you back.
No, it's okay. Would you know?
Yes. I'm very afraid.
All right. I'm not that scared.
Okay.
You and Mr. Rubin were talking about break-ins at Mr. English's house.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody there actually ever broke into anything. Is that correct? That you know of? It wasn't a secured house. Somebody walked through the door.
I don't know if there were even doors.
Right, there weren't. But
So Mr. Camarillo
That's-
testifying.
just as your sons went in that garage, the open garage,
Yes, sir.
you're not aware of any sort of doors or windows or anything else that was on that property.
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
At the time that we're speaking of.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, sir.
Currently, there might be.
I think so.
Okay. All right. So you're friends with the Perez's,
Mm-hmm.
close friends, right? Y'all have had dinner together?
Mm-hmm.
Exchanged texts and calls and that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all went on a boat ride with the Perez's and Mr. McMichael over
Mr.
here?
Greg and Travis. Or Mr. Greg and Miss Lee.
Yeah, right. Okay. And that was shortly, that was after the homicide.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Y'all talk about friends and family, that sort of thing?
On the boat ride?
No, I'm just in general.
The Perez's and I?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, and then after the shooting, you and Brooke walked over there, or kind of meandered over there to see what was going on, right?
The day of?
The day of?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you two were standing there together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know Miss Lee McMichael?
I do.
How do you know her?
Lee and I work for the same place, so in passing, just colleagues.
Same hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Y'all see each other in passing, talk about friends and family, live in the same neighborhood?
We don't usually chit-chat, but we're friendly.
Okay. Friendly enough that y'all wanted a boat ride together?
Yes,
After the
so,
incident?
right. Brooke and Diego invited me, and I'm not going to turn down a boat ride.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Did you know Mr. Arbery?
I did not.
Before this happened, did you ever hear about him?
Not by name.
You never heard that name before, right?
Correct.
None of your friends or family knew him?
No, sir.
The incident at your house where you said that you saw two guys with a flashlight, those are police officers, right?
Yes, sir.
You never saw any trespassers on your camera that night?
Correct.
You just saw the aftermath of people looking for somebody?
Right.
And in fact, you've never seen a trespasser on your camera ever?
Correct.
Did you ever view surveillance videos from anybody else's house, personally?
Being so far after the fact, I don't know if the videos I saw were, just from the internet or anyone's phone. I mean, if I did, it would have been from Brooke's phone, but I don't know.
Your mom had her car broken into, right?
Yes, sir.
And when I say
Rummaged through. It was unlocked.
It was unlocked. We tend to use that term pretty loosely, right?
Yes, sir.
Door was unlocked, car went through. Still unnerving.
Very.
Nobody wants that to happen.
Right.
Didn't call 911?
No, I did not report it, and my mom was out of the country and asked why I didn't, and I'd seen on the Facebook page that someone's car was also, things were stolen, and when she did report it, I mean, the police were maybe a little flippant about it, just a car break-in, make sure you lock your doors, so I thought I'm not going to call the police for her car being rummaged through.
That seemed to be a trend in the neighborhood? That seemed to be a trend, people leaving their cars unlocked and things taken out?
I don't know if they were all unlocked or not. But you should still be able to leave your car unlocked and know your things are safe.
100%. 100%. And it's not your fault. I mean, it's not anybody's fault.
Right.
Right? Since you've lived in Satilla Shores, you haven't personally witnessed any car break-ins, correct?
No.
You haven't witnessed personally any property crime?
Crime other than...
Property crime?
No.
Okay. You've never witnessed or heard about any physical assaults?
No.
Really the only thing that was going on was these car break-ins.
Car break-ins and several reports of a person that no one knew kind of lurking around. My boys called one night when I was at a restaurant and it was like 8:30 and they said...
Judge, I would object
Oh,
to
sorry.
Yeah. A non-responsive answer. Asked to strike that.
I would ask if she's allowed to complete her answer.
I asked about assaults, and then it went into something else.
Oh, really gets to stick. All right. Yes. Let's move on. Can't remember where the objection came from.
I think she was mentioning suspicious person.
Yeah, she
No,
mentioned
it was non-responsive.
it was non-responsive.
That's the thing of it.
As the administrator of the Facebook page, you were able to see all the different types of theories about who might be doing this, right?
I had access to, didn't necessarily engage or read it actively.
Did you get alerts on
Every
your
day.
phone as the administrator from being a part of Satilla Shores?
I turned off my notifications from Facebook in general just because they get overwhelming at times.
Fair enough. Had you heard that people thought it might be teenagers?
I don't recall.
Okay.
want to talk to you, Ms. Lawrence, about a time when you had a conversation with Travis McMichael after the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember speaking with him in his driveway at some point after the shooting about this case?
No, sir. I remember he was coming home one night, and I was out in the road, and he just stopped and we talked.
And y'all talked about the case and what happened?
Right. Yes, sir.
Right. And he told you there was a video out there
Yes, sir.
and that him and his dad were planning on, quote unquote, leaking it.
Right.
And you agreed to help him do that?
Probably not at that time. And I didn't agree to leak it.
At some point, you and Travis had a conversation about,
That I would share it once it got
share it,
out.
correct.
Right.
and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it had to do with you helping get his version of what happened out.
Right. The neighborhood's version of past events and, yes, kind of
Sure.
all the things that led to this.
Because at this point, everybody had seen that video, right? Or a lot of the neighbors. You've seen it.
I have seen it, but I don't know about it.
They showed it to you. They showed it to you
Correct.
on their phone or wherever they had it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, nobody knew that they actually engaged in a full-on chase through the neighborhood. Correct?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know what everyone knew.
No, what I'm asking, what they told you. Did they ever tell you that they chased Mr. Arbery or followed him in a car or whatever you want to characterize it? They never told you that, correct?
I don't
Object.
recall that.
What, they? Who are we talking about?
Greg and Travis. Greg and Travis. They never told you they engaged in that chase, right?
Correct.
And you never heard from anybody else about that.
I'm sorry. Object to form the question about what?
You never engaged with any sort of conversation with anybody else about a chase that occurred, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I didn't know there was a chase.
At some point after the homicide, and I don't know if it's before or after this conversation, Travis asked you to admit him into the Satilla Facebook page under the name Travis Hafner. And it was a fake Facebook page, correct?
Correct. Because his actual Facebook page had been hacked.
But he didn't take the time to set up a new one under his real name.
I don't know that Facebook makes it that easy, but
Okay.
I don't know what he did.
Because he wanted to know what people were talking about this.
I'm going to object to Mr. Camarillo asking what Travis McMichael believed.
No, this was a conversation they had. I'm asking about the conversation they had.
So I would ask that to be clarified where the information's come from the foundation.
You and him talked about the purpose of him creating this Facebook page, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that purpose was from him to be able to monitor what was going on throughout the neighborhood under this fake name.
Monitor what was going on? I don't.
Look at what people were saying.
Right.
At some point, the neighbors were as you said, they post about maybe water that got shut off, complaints with things going on in the neighborhood, crime of some sort, right? That's kind of the general things that were being posted on the Facebook page, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And at some point, there were strings of messages or posts about car break-ins that were happening. You remember all that?
Fair enough. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you engaged in some of those conversations, and at some point on January 30th, you posted about leaving your window down, and you were lucky nobody took your purse and wallet in the front seat.
Right.
Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Bubba and Renee Herndon posted about their gun being stolen, right?
I don't recall.
Don't recall. At the very end of that, Travis posted, "They're playing with fire on this side of the neighborhood." Remember seeing that? He posted that?
I don't.
One minute, okay? Ma'am, that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Lawrence, Mr. Camarillo asked you about the video that we've seen in this case regarding the shooting of Mr. Arbery. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you were willing to share it, right? Share it meaning the video.
Right.
How were you going to share it?
Texts or social media.
Post it somewhere?
Yes, sir.
Send it to friends or family? And why? Tell us why you were willing to share that video.
To me, I felt it matched the story that I knew to be true of this person lunging for the gun, and so this is the story I heard and have no reason not to believe. And so seeing the video kind of confirmed, okay, this matches the story and the video match, so you're lucky you have this on video.
Okay. And so you were willing to put it out because you believed it to be the truth.
Yes, sir.
And about what time of year was this? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't.
Was it after the media had gotten a hold of this story and was kind of blowing things up?
It was after the video was released and then didn't get a positive response.
Okay. All right. Did you ever share the video?
No.
Okay. But you were willing to?
Yes.
Okay. The Travis Hafner, I think, was that the name Mr. McMichael wanted to use?
I don't recall, but
Okay. Tell us about that. What had happened prior to him approaching you as you understood it? Why he needed a new moniker on Facebook?
Someone had hacked into his account, and so I guess, I don't know if they automatically shut it down or he had to shut it down, but it was, just a way to get on Facebook.
Okay. And was this, again, after the national media had started reporting about the shooting of Mr. Arbery? Do you recall?
I believe it was after.
Okay. And as the administrator, what did you have to do to allow Mr. McMichael to
I don't know that I actually did. I'm sure there's a record. I'm not saying I didn't, but it's just an easy approve or decline.
Okay. And tell the jury why you were willing to approve Mr. McMichael, Travis, being on the Facebook page under a different name.
I believed the account of the events as they transpired, as they were told to me by the family, and didn't see a reason he shouldn't have access to what people were thinking.
So it was to monitor what other people were saying about him? Is that as you understood it?
Or maybe not necessarily of him, but of the event in general.
Okay. Did you, as the administrator of the neighborhood Facebook page, see anything wrong with that?
No?
Was the name Travis Hafner or whatever name was used by Travis or anybody else to put out information about the case, to your knowledge?
I don't think he actually posted anything,
Okay.
but I don't.
You don't recall? Okay. Just give me 1 second. Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Appreciate it. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Is she released?
Yes. You would ask.
She understates subpoena. Ma'am, you can step down. You are released.
Your Honor, before the next step, we'd ask that the jury be asked to step out and we bring the matter up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take we'll plan on 15 minutes, 15-minute recess.
All rise for the jury.